All right. How is everybody out there tonight? Let me know how it sounded. Let me know how it's looking. I'm still new at this live streaming stuff. I consider myself a newbie. I've only been doing it a few months and learning the tricks and the trades and getting all the settings right and learning the software and all that. But Anyway, good evening, friends and neighbors, and welcome back to the Rabun County Rag. Well, it looks like spring has sprung in these mountains. On my daily walks, I've been seeing those first little brave blooms push up through the brown and gray. Yep, just little reminders, especially those little violets, man, those are beautiful. Those little reminders that winter never really wins. It just borrows the stage for a while. And as I drive through, the dogwoods are thinking about it. The red buds are stirring, and the air itself feels just a little different. Lighter, softer, maybe a little more hopeful. Well, before we get too far down the trail tonight, let's remember why we gather here. We're a community of like-minded people with common interest in hunting, fishing, protecting our community, our culture, our families, and the environment. We come here to exchange ideas, resources, and information. And I would like to believe that is the heartbeat of this show. Now, spring in Rabun County is more than a date on the calendar. It's the season of opening gates, checking gardens, airing out boats, walking the ridges again, and paying attention to what's waking up around us. If you've been feeling the pullback to get back outside, you're not alone. I know that, I told you guys last week, I just got back from Hereford, Texas. I went out there for a little project, and it's a different environment out there. And to get back into these beautiful southern Appalachian mountains, it's a real wonderful joy to my heart to be back here. I cannot be more pleased. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Go ahead and check in with me. Give me a little nudge. Give me a little nudging, and let me know you're out there. Say hello by signifying so on the chat. Let me know you're out there. And let me know what's going on in your world. It looks like I got a... Come on, Elon. Come on, Starlink now. I'm dropping frames like a mo. There it goes. Back up, coming back up. If I'm buffering, yeah, you know what's going on. Anyway, Starlink's the best I got. And it does far. But anybody ever have that wind stream out there? Hello, neighbors. If you got Windstream, let me give you a secret. Starlink. Sign up today. Man, it was a Windstream, and then I guess they got so much heat, they decided to call it something else, and I had it for a while. As a matter of fact, I ran both Windstream or whatever it was. I can't even remember the name of it now. That sorry bunch. And Starlink at the same time just to make sure I had coverage. And man, and that's been a couple years now, and he's got more satellites up there, and it's doing a far better job. I saw the neighbor up the hill there had one the other day, and I asked her about it, and she was tickled pink about it as well. But anyway, welcome back, Rabun County Rag. Glad to see you. Glad you stopped by, and glad you're watching. Make sure you send me a chat. Let me know you're watching. Makes me smile. Makes me know that somebody is paying attention and watching. I do need people to watch. Maybe grow the algorithm. I'd like to have people participate as well. Just to make it feel better. Anyway, I got to do some transitioning. I'm still trying to get some of these little doodads up on the screen. It's called OBS, Open Broadcast Source or System or something. And thank you to OBS Studios because it's a free software. It's developed by, I believe, volunteers, and they have put this software out there that, combined with Starlink and a couple doodads and gadgets, it makes this live stream possible. It's all coming together, and I'm coming to you from Studio B in the bunker here in southern Appalachia. Won't tell you exactly where I'm at. Anyway, if you get to know me and you get to find out about me, I might invite you up to the house for a cold drink, cup of coffee. Of course, I'm having to swear off that coffee after about 4 o'clock. I went to the doctor. He says, "Man, you fat." I said, "Doc." I probably told y'all last week. I don't remember. I said, "Doc, doggone, man, I want a second opinion." He said, "Okay, you ugly too." Anyway, here I am. I'm trying to watch the weight and cut down on the cortisol, get more exercise, watch what I eat. I told him I watched what I eat. I watch every bite. I told him I do a lot of watching. There goes that old poor signal again. But anyway, let's move along. You know, the old turkey season is kicking off this weekend. Turkey season this Saturday for Georgia hunters. Spring turkey season opens Saturday, March 28th. That's on private land. Now, for the public land, including the WMAs and the National Forest land, it opens, I believe that is April 4th, which is the day, is it Easter? Easter on the 5th? Let's see what we got. Don't say. On these secular calendars. Anyway, I think it is. I got one over here. Hang on a minute. Let me look. I ain't going nowhere. I'm just looking at the calendar. Yeah. That's right. Not this Sunday, but the next Sunday is Easter. Make sure you prepare your heart and soul and get ready to serve and love one another and give the message to them youngins what Easter is about. Now, I feel them Easter eggs and chocolate bunnies is a fine tradition. But make sure you talk about the origins of Easter and what that really means. Make sure you're raising your children the right way. And if you don't like what I'm saying here, make that YouTube, you can scroll on, find you something else, but that's one of my tenets of life. And I hope it's a tenet in your life as well. Anyway, we was talking about turkey season, but next Saturday before not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, April 4th. It opens up on public land, which is the WMAs and National Forest. Opens up next Saturday, which is the day before Easter, the biggest celebration in the Christian calendar, I believe. A lot of people talk about Christmas. I agree. Christmas is important, but so is Easter. In Rabun County and northeast Georgia mountains, those gobblers now, if y'all know better about gobbler hunting than I do, I've done it a time or two over my span, but they like mature hardwood ridges for roosting. They like the openings and old logging roads for strutting. There's one right down the bottom of the hill here. And a patchwork of bugs, green up, and seeds, and leftover mass for feeding. That mountain ridge habitat where timber openings and creek bottoms come together is turkey country. I got a highland one up there, a little meadow. I've seen them up there in that, and I've seen them down below a little bit. Looks like we're buffering again. Y'all bear with me. Let me know how the signal's coming out on your end. Come on. Stop. If you're scrolling, stop. Talk to me. Give me something to talk about. Now, here's a few tried and true tactics if you hunt them turkeys. Scout roost areas from a distance at daylight or fly up time. That's when they go into bed. Fly up time, they roost in them old trees. Make sure you set up before first light. Them old turkeys, boy, they got better eyesight than eagles, I think. The birds in this world have far superior eyesight than any mammal. I believe that's true. If you know different, I would like to hear. And I'm sitting here rocking back and forth this old squeaky chair, trying to give y'all something to listen to. But be sure you set up before daylight. Call softer than you think you need to in the mountains. Old grandson had, I keep old turkey call I call it the inbox upstairs on the the hall, the hallway that from the front door into the living area. There's a little table there. My wife keeps a little box there for me to drop off mail and things that need to go downstairs. They get, excuse me. Had a little yawn there, but things that need to come downstairs, it's right by the downstairs door, and I'll grab it and bring it down. But anyway, I've been leaving a squirrel call and a turkey box up there. And one of them old, what is it, a Lehman? Old Lehman turkey box, you know. It's got a box, I don't know about that big, and it's got a lid on it. One side it's wood, and you flip it over, and the other side's got slate. But he's been messing with that thing. He's turned 5. He is really all that stuff I was playing with him with as a little bitty youngster, and now he's starting to show me that he learned it. I'm like, man, that's a good sign. That means it's hard to believe. I don't know much about child rearing. I have raised a few, but it's the stuff you put in them all the time by example. And it always surprises me that they actually picked it up. You know, a lot of times, who wants to know that? But then as they mature a little more, they go, hey, watch this. And you go, that's good. But anyway, when you're using your calls, make sure you're just a little bit softer than you think you need to in the mountains, because it will carry and ricochet around. And make sure you use the terrain to your advantage. Those ridges and folds can hide movement and also carry sound in tricky ways. Now, like I said, if you guys are no different, please fill me in. But let the cobbler make the final move. Mountain birds can hang up if you get too aggressive. Georgia DNR, I read a little bit. Thank you, Pluriforia. The Georgia DNR is also emphasizing basic turkey safety this spring. Well, what's still open? What's closing? And what's next? The Georgia regular fur-bearing trapping season ran January 1st through February 28th, so that's finished up. So that season is now closed. But on private land, there is no closed season for trapping beaver, coyote, raccoon, or possum. This is worth knowing for folks doing land management or nuisance control. I'd gotten some mulch hay, I guess last year. Yeah, it was last year, a little later. And I got 4 of them stacked under the deck out here. Got a big old wide deck. But there's a hole right where 2 of them on the ground, about that big around. I went to get some the other day, and I paused and looked at that. And I told my wife about it. I said, what do you reckon is in there? She goes, I don't know. You're going to find out when you open it up. And I said, well, it's springtime, and I'd sure hate to interrupt a mama and her babies. I guess I could open it up and look, and if I can get run off by a mad mama, I'll know. Or steal one of them baby raccoons and have me a pet raccoon if their eyes ain't open now. That'd be kind of cool. My old grandson be tickled pink about that. Also, right now, the big outdoors shift is from winter carryover into spring turkey and spring fishing. Trout stocking is ramping up hard across North Georgia. Rabun County's Tallulah River is one of the named stocking locations for the 2026 spring season. Georgia WRD says stockings are underway and are expected to continue through Labor Day. Anyway, I went to what was it? I don't know whether it was a hardware store or tractor. Man, had them old beans twice a day. Made chili yesterday and had them for breakfast this morning with 2 or 3 eggs and little bitty eggs too. I told my wife, I said, man, when'd your mama start raising quail? She goes, quail? I said, yeah, these eggs in here. She goes, oh, those come from my Aunt Frances. And I said, well, when'd she start raising quail? Anyway, I had 3 of those with a couple scoops of chili for breakfast. And then about 3 o'clock, I said, well, I'm hungry and I'm going to do my live stream tonight. So, I was in the freezer getting out hamburger meat and something else. I was getting something else out. It was hamburger meat for the chili. And I looked in there and I found a couple little bowls left over from New Year's. And it was, I grabbed a collard green and a black-eyed pea, one of them little frozen bowls, single-serving deal. And I had the collard greens yesterday when I was making that chili, and this evening, I took them old black-eyed peas and pitched a couple small spoons of that chili in there and some leftover beef, and put it in the microwave, popped it in, it came down here, and now it's got me to belching. But anyway, it was good, and I got my quarterly black-eyed peas in. But anyway, where was I going with all that? Oh, yeah, the baby chicks. we got an old pen back there, but the wife is leery about it because the old bear got him in last time, upset her. But I told her about it, and she said, boy, old grandboy would like to see you. That'd be a fun thing for him. And I said, well, I told her, I said, I got 100 of them ordered for you. I'll be here tomorrow. She said, no, you didn't. Anyway, we've got the spring weather and fishing and warm season prep here. Spring weather changes fish. For the lake fish, warming afternoons start pulling the bass shallower, especially into the stained creek arms and protected pockets, rocky points, wood cover, and secondary points. Georgia's March fishing report says surface temperatures are generally in the upper 40s and low 50s, with warmer water in the back creeks during the afternoon. And that's exactly those pre-spawn moments start to matter. So if you're a lake fisherman, you ought to be thinking about it. Get that old boat tuned up, get it dried out, get it fit and ready to go, get that engine to tune up, get some fresh gas in it, and get ready to make it happen, boys. I have fished for bass, and I love catching bass with a big old popper on a fly rod. But I hadn't done that in a few years. I've been more of a river fisherman, sticking to them trout and with the occasional bluegill and smallmouth. But anyway, speaking of river fish, especially the trout, early spring usually means better feeding window as water warms a little bit. Insect activity picks up. I need to hit the water. I thought I was going to have to go out of town for another project up in North Carolina, but it looks like they have found somebody else, so I am blessed. I'd have been blessed if they called me to go, and I'm blessed if I get to stay here. Because I did spend last week getting the old seeds going downstairs in the pantry. So I got some seeds started. I popped the domes off today. I'm going to start backing off on the heat and put a fan on them and stiffen them up and see if I can't get them ready to plant by about either the after the 12th. I've always told to wait a week or two after Easter to plant your vegetables, and I'm going to dadgum direct. So if there's a sunflower expert out there, y'all send me a note how to get them things go. I'm going to direct seed them this year instead of trying to start them. I don't know. I just like a sunflower, and I had a couple successful years, but the past couple years have been really a disappointment when it comes to sunflower. Anyway, we was talking about trout fishing. I guess I need to break out the book. Y'all know anything about that? What's that guy's name? Hang on a minute. Let me go get that book. I got it on my desk. I was looking on my end table down here in the office. I was looking at it earlier today. Let me go get that book. Y'all hold on. Don't go nowhere now, you hear? Yeah, here we go. This little book right here. Let me get these headphones on. Like that old poor signal again. Darn old. Let's see what the name is. I don't know if y'all can read it or not. Trout Stream Insects. And this is by some of you old timers might remember this guy. Dick Popst. Popst. P-O-B-S-T. Popes. Anyway, it's a handy little book. Talks about the kind of fly. If I put it any closer, it's going to be out of focus. So I got to keep it back here. I don't have, the folks, I don't have autofocus on that camera. It's some kind of studio camera. I don't know. But anyway, if you'll notice, it gives you the outline and how they look. Up over here, it has an outline of it. And this is the 2 stages of the fly. Down here, right there, gives you the larva stage and then the fly stage. So it gives you a lot of information on what to look for. And there's a section in here. Talks about the cases and pupa or pupusa. And it talks about, here's a little chart for the western streams and eastern streams and the dates thereabout that you might see them. So it's a good little reference book. I use it to help me kind of determine what I need to have in the box if I'm fly fishing. However, I'm a big fan of them old Georgia nymphs. A cricket. I am not bashful about using crickets or worms. Now, I kind of draw the line there at the dough balls and the pink bait, and I hadn't used corn or any of that stuff in years. If I'm not out there to be a meat fisherman, I don't need 50 pounds of trout or 8 or whatever the daily limit is. I'm out there to enjoy the scenery and the sport. All right. Georgia Department of Natural Resources, or WRD, says spring is one of the best times to fish in the state, with weekly stockings now underway. I remember years ago I'd come up here fishing, and you'd hear that old stock truck come. You watch him come across the top of the hill there. Boy, there's about 10 trucks behind him. Old boys, local boys, they's following around getting that meat freezer full. Anyway, I got here a Quit Mountain fishing cheat sheet. Bass. You want to target the warming pockets, shallow cover, secondary points. Fish slowly in the morning, a little faster once the sun gets to work. And those trout, start out with them Georgia nymphs, or any kind of nymph, the small spinner, or drift presentations and deeper seams early, and then work riffles and feeding lanes later as the day warms. Like I said, the Georgia WRD notes trout stocking is active now, and spring catch rates are usually strong. If you want a successful spring trout season, think clear cold water, a light line, natural drift, and fish the warmest, most stable part of the day. I like that trout fishing. Let me know if you're a trout fisherman. Send me a chat, but on a personal note, fishing the same stream years after, years and years and years, and you get your favorite spots. And it took me a long time to learn this lesson, man. Look around and find you some new places, because the places that used to be productive for you years ago, because of the terrain and these mountain streams, it changes. The cuts that used to be there changed because the river cuts a different way. But just remember, what a feeding lane looks like, and and what a good hold looks like, and take and be adventuresome and find different streams or different sections of streams and enjoy the different aspects of it. There's some places I go fishing. I have not had that much luck, but you know what? I love fishing that place because it is so beautiful to stand there for an hour or two and watch the wildlife other than the fish, river otters and birds. And there's one place up on I'm not going to say the name of it. There's a darn old chicken been there about 3 years now. And a car pull up, and he'll just go up there because he knows that there's going to be corn, worms, something that somebody going to drop. That old crazy fool, he'll come up and he'll roll down the truck window and he'll look at you like, well, what you got, man? What you got in that truck? And it's irresistible not to throw him something out there, piece of peanut butter sandwich or something. What is he? It's one of them birds that's got the brown bars on him. A little brown bar. I forgot. I looked up the name of it one time. Yeah, he's a trip. He's a healthy little booger. Maybe he'll be there when I get up on the river. Now that I know that I don't have to go out of town, I think next week I may spend a couple days. I don't ever keep fish, hardly ever, but man, all of a sudden, since I got blessed with not having to go out of town for 2 or 3 weeks, all of a sudden I feel blessed with the urge for a trout dinner. Now, I'm pretty handy. I love a trout almondine. You take and I don't skin them. I just lay them open and sear them off in that pan, put the skin side down, throw a handful of split almonds in there and a tablespoon or two of butter, and just start flipping that butter on them fish until that flesh turns that dun color, and then out of the pan they come. And most people don't like it, but I kind of like the skin on my trout, especially when it gets good seared in that old hot cast iron with that butter. Yes, sir, that's what I'm thinking about right now. What's your favorite trout? What's your favorite trout dinner? How you like to cook your trout? Now, it's different than them old bluegill. Now, you just roll them around in some cornmeal and pitch them in the hot oil, and when the fins get crispy, you take them out and go to munching. Same way with bass for me and catfish. But them trout, I don't deep fry them at all. I like them. A little salt and pepper on that trout almondine. Anyway, rolling along cause we got some places to go. Now, we always have to talk a little bit about safety. Me being a safety professional, we talking about going hunting, we going fishing. So let's have a safety moment. And here's some spring reminder. For turkey season, Georgia DNR is pushing safety for a reason. Make sure you positively identify your target. Never stalk a turkey sound. Don't do it. There used to be some old boy laying up in the weeds making them sounds. Don't do it. Make sure you got your blaze on when you're moving. Treat every ridge and every patch of brush like somebody else may be hunting nearby. Now on the water, make sure you got that life jacket, have it on. And don't stand up and get too careless in the cold spring water. Remember that spring water can still lead to hypothermia fast, even on a beautiful warm afternoon. Cold shock is no joke. Wet plus wind plus overconfidence is a bad combination. The same rule works on land too. Spring weather looks forgiving right up until it isn't. And this spring weather, it can get you. I was out the other day. I forget what day it was, Monday. I got a little sunburn on my arms. I was out there. I was on the tractor. Spent Sunday and Monday on the tractor. I got that old company called Chip Drop, and what it is for arborists in the area. Instead of them having to hunt a place to drop their chips or pay for them to go to the field or whatever, if you sign up in your area, they'll come up there and drop old wood chips for free. And I use them all over the place. They dump me a couple nice loads, and I use them to control wash. I use them to berm up, build swells, build things like that. I use them to mulch the gardens. And then what I'll do is I'll pile a big pile up and let it sit there over summer and over winter. And by the next spring, they're looking pretty good. I can be using them as a good mulch. So if you want the name of that outfit, send me a chat and I'll sure let you know. But anyway, the reason I say that, it was warm when I got started. I think it was Monday. It was warmer in the morning than it was in the afternoon. It got kind of cool in the afternoon, and now we've had a couple cool days yesterday and today. Partly cloudy. So, spring is here, yes, indeed, but you can still get cold. So just be careful with yourself out there when it comes to being outside and the weather. Speaking of weather, let's have a look at the current weather and a seasonal outlook. The current local setup for Clayton and Rabun County, warm today. It didn't feel all that warm. It did in the afternoon and Friday, and then cooler, dry air over the weekend, with the highs around upper 60s Saturday and low 60s Sunday, before temperatures climb up again next week. I tell you what, I'd like to have a little rain now that I got all that mulching done, just to set that stuff in place is what I'd like to see happen. But the temperatures will be climbing up again next week. The current 7-day forecast also elevated fire threat for later this week over the weekend because of dry conditions and lower humidity. Now, on the broader spring outlook, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center shows above normal temperatures favored for April through June 26, and the regional drought front summary from the National Weather Service says below normal rainfall has recently worsened drought conditions across northeast Georgia and western Carolina. And what that means in plain Rabun County English, that the warm spells will keep coming, but cool nights are still part of the deal. Late frost risk is not gone. That always upsets me in the spring. I tell you what, the older I get, the more I worry about stuff when it comes to my garden, because I don't know how many more garden seasons I'm going to have. And it's a roll of the dice, ain't it? And, you work hard, you try to do things right, you take care. Now, if it weren't for my wife, I don't think we'd be near as productive as we are, because I believe in giving it a good dose of mulch and hoping for the best and let nature run its course. My time has shown that sometimes those drought conditions may produce fewer vegetables, but the flavor is much more intense. So I just kind of leave it up to the gods. I'll mulch, but she'll get out there and do weeding and stand on the deck and try and water it, give it a little bit of water. But I've got plenty of mulch and straw on hand, so I'll try. Now, last year was a little wet. It was. I was not impressed with my production last year, But talking with others, neither were they. So I felt okay. For gardening, frost time still matters. Frost date tools for the area suggest Ravens County higher elevations can still see spring frost into April and even around early May, depending on elevation. Yeah, boy. Now, I had one year I was put out the old tomato sets and they were looking good, and I was out of town and a wife called and said, "Hey, we might get a frost. What you want me to do?" I said, "Shoot, I don't know. Let nature take its course." She says, "Well, I got all these plastic grocery bags. I can go out there and cover them up." And she did, and we had a good harvest that year. But anyway, thank you for my lovely wife taking care of that. That's been a few years. Anyway, it speaking of gardening, and I know I've been interlacing it. It's 6:40 already. Man, I'm having a good time. 6:40, and it is time to think about the garden. I've already been thinking about it. I told you I was on the tractor putting out wood chips I use for mulch. I got seeds started. I did service the lawnmower this week. It was a mess. I hadn't done anything that thing. It had mud in the bottom of the float bowl. A couple of the jets seemed to be semi-clogged. It was hard to get started. Then it so I got the carb off and cleaned it up, and I bought a darn old filter for it, and it was the wrong one. I thought about taking it back. I said, nah, I'll just use it on something else eventually. But, thinking about the garden. Now, Rabun County sits in mountain condition where cool season crops often shine first, and warm season planting rewards patience. Now, the University of Georgia vegetable counter points to spring as the main planting window and lists warm season crops like beans, corns, cucumber, okras, pepper, squash, tomatoes, and watermelons once the frost danger is past. Now, I don't know when the darned old frost danger is going to pass. But UGA also recommends soil testing. I'm in this old Georgia red clay up here in these mountains, and I've got a test kit. But, is it better just to take and get you a sample from all your gardens and shake it up in a sack and take it to the UGA and let them test it for a small fee? I think it's probably the best thing to do. But we want to target a pH of anywhere from 6 to 6.5 for most vegetables. Good bets for Rabun County gardens. Stuff I don't even grow. It says here, lettuce, spinach, peas, carrots, beets, cabbage, and broccoli early. I have planted some spinach, and I'd like to try some cabbage and broccoli. I might do that. I don't know. Plant those early, then tomatoes, beans, and squash, and all that once the frost risk eases. Now, if you want to do some fruit, now blueberries do well, and I've got a patch up here on the hill in front of the house, and they're wild. They don't get big. There's those old wild blueberries, and they're small, and the wife don't like to go up in there because she's afraid of snakes or whatever. But I'll get up there every now and then and walk grandboy up there, and we'll munch down on some fresh blueberries and let the birds have the rest of it. And then lower down that hill in the poorest soil, there's a bunch of blackberry vines and canes, I guess you call them. And so that's my wife's thing. She likes to get out there and pick them and make blackberry jam. She'll save them up all summer, put them in the freezer, and then she'll get to making old blackberry jam and give it to friends, neighbors, and family. But says here, blueberries do well, and notes that North Georgia mountains, that northern high bush blueberries can be a good fit for freeze-prone sites. I don't know if you're an ornamental landscaper or not. Native plant resources support durable woody plants and regional adaptive natives rather than fighting the site. And some of those native alternatives worth mentioning is, let's see, serviceberry, elderberry, or American hazelnut, where they'll fit. The ornamental structure and habitat value support choices like red maple, button bush, and other site-matched natives. And for shaded spots, North Georgia friendly ground covers include Allegheny spurge and autumn fern, amongst others. I got a long spot down my drive that I've been thinking over the years. I stopped the wash and built up some berms and started putting mulch in it. And with the intent in a few years, and I guess it's been that now, putting some kind of plantings along that driveway. And it's heavily shaded, so if you've got some heavy shade, I like autumn fern, but man, I'd like to have maybe a rhododendron or what do you call that stuff? Azalea, something like that. I've been starting my indoor seeds. If you have the light, and I got it, harden plants off later. Don't let. Hey, it's a prank caller. Let's see if we can get them on the line. Hello? Hello? Are you with me? Hello? Darn. I thought I was going to get me a prank caller. One of them spam callers. Man, they've been busy today. But go ahead and get your plant started now. Don't let one warm week talk you into planting tomatoes too early. That's what they tell me. But tell me what you're going to put in your garden. Let me see what I got. I got plenty of tomatoes. I like Better Boy beefsteak and Cherokee purple. I like them things. And then some Romas and cherry tomatoes, of course. Grape tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. I'm probably going to have more than I really can eat, but I like a tomato. And then I got some peppers, bell pepper, jalapeno pepper, poblano peppers. I got those going. I got some squash, summer squash, zucchini squash, and what else I got? I got to put some watermelon in. I didn't put no butternut. I didn't have the seeds. But some herbs, cilantro, basil, oregano. I want to get some rosemary. Anyway, tell me what you got going in your garden. I'd like to hear about it. Tell me some of the success rate. Tell me what your favorite is. I want to know what you plant every year with high expectations. And if your expectations are met, tell me your secret behind it. Maybe we can do some swapping. Anyway, my mother-in-law has sent me some fig cuttings a couple different times, and I worked on it unsuccessfully and forget about them, trying to get them going. Dadgummit. And I need to get back onto that because I really do want to have me one or two fig bushes. I'm thinking about some fruit trees, though. I'm getting a little long in the tooth. I don't know if I'll ever see any heavy production, but I was thinking a cherry tree, maybe. I got a wild cherry tree out there. Most people don't like, they think they're poisonous or whatever. They're just small. But I like them old wild cherries. You know what I'd like to have is some of them old wild green plums that put up there amongst my wife's blackberry canes. I know when I was a kid, boy, when we went blackberry picking, it was always, and I believe they're called Cherokee plum, them old green plums. There was always one or two of those. And I had a buddy who had a mulberry tree, and that was a delicious fruit. And I'll see those things everywhere. And I'll walk up and start eating when people go, "Hey, man, that's snakeberry. That's poison." I said, no. That's a mulberry tree, son. Don't you know the difference? And I've seen them be on a job site, and they'd be a big old mulberry tree, and I'd be out there enjoying myself, grinning from ear to ear. And a persimmon. I had some persimmon seeds, and I was unsuccessful. I might just hunt me down a sapling somewhere. Maybe buy one if it's cheap enough. Let's see. It is 6:50. Local news, nearby events worth putting on folks' calendars. Celebrate Spring 2026, a garden symposium on Thursday, March 26, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Rabun County, but it doesn't say where it's at. Mark Lowry, Thursday, March 26, 7 to 10:30 p.m. Who in the world is Mark Lowry? Anybody know who Mark Lowry is? I'd like to know. Y'all let me know. Needle felting acorns. That's with a lady called I guess it's a lady. It's a Kelly Coldren, and that's tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Man, here's one. That's on Friday from noon to 1. Ask the Naturalist. Wildflowers at Tallulah Gorge State Park. And that's Friday on March 27th, lunchtime, 12 to 1 p.m. And then also on Friday, there is a 5K race. Y'all have to look up where that's at, but it's at 5:30 to 7. And Monumental Moments hike at Tallulah Gorge State Park at Saturday morning from 12 to 2. Looking at a little ahead, Georgia Mountain Ford Nationals run and a Doggy Easter egg hunt is listed for April 4th. Well, I guess that's about enough for right now. That's enough to prove that their spring has officially put the county back in motion. I got a little humor here. Thank you, Pluriforia. You are my heroine. It's spring in Rabun County when you leave the house in a jacket and regret it by lunch and need it again before supper. Granddaddy said never trust spring in the mountains. He said it smiles at you with daffodils and tries to kill your tomatoes. And every mountain gardener knows the 3 stages of spring are optimism, overconfidence, and replanting. Ain't that the Lord's truth? All right, turkey hunters, man, shout out to you guys tonight. Ready to burn that boot leather, boy. I can see y'all oiling them guns and practicing, making sure you got chalk in your box and looking at the weather. And the trout fishermen, I need to put the rods back in my truck. I took them out in the fall along with my fishing tackle, and they ain't been back in there. And you gardeners, let's go ahead and get them seeds started. And the folks who kept showing up all winter long, even when nobody was clapping. What's the first real sign of spring you've noticed this year? We're running out of time. Are you more excited about turkey season, trout fishing, or getting in the garden? Tell me, send me a chat and let me know. And what's the one thing you're planning this spring that you swear by? Maters, pumpkins? What is it? Old Beans is still giving me the hiccups. I done told y'all mine. Well, here we go. It's the wrap up. I tell you what, time flies when you're having fun. I appreciate y'all being here, and let's tie it together the right way. Now, spring is sprung, and the woods are waking up. The water is changing. The gardens are calling. The mountains are stretching after a long winter. And through it all, we gather for the same reason. We're a community of like-minded people with common interest in hunting, fishing, protecting our community, our culture, our families, and the environment. We come here and we exchange ideas, resources, and information. Speaking of resources, I'm back in the hunt. I'd love to have some cow manure, or I guess horse manure would work, for the garden. Looking for some manure, looking for some last year's hay mulch. And one thing I am looking for is a broad fork, because y'all know last year I talked about it, and this year I don't know if I have yet or not. I'm going down that no-till garden scenario, in a broad fork, they say, is the best way to get that soil turned without breaking up all the mitochondria and all that stuff that grows in the soil. So speaking of resources, here I am. I'm asking for horse or cow manure, preferably cow, mulch hay, and a broad fork. So if any of you catch this on the rerun and get to this part of it, know I'm looking for them, and send me a message. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. I'd like to thank you for spending this hour with the Rabun County Rag. This is Bubba, and I'm signing off from the mountains, where the stories are old, but spring always makes them feel new. All right, boys and girls, I wish each and every one of you make sure that you have a grateful day and a grateful week, and we'll see you next time.